It's Tamara, pronounced Tamara, but...
Like when your birth control fails, you plan B it Tamara.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how I want to be remembered, people.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Talking to Earthlings with Lunakye, where we explore the humanity in all of us. Today we welcome special guest Jillian Rose Reed, most notable for MTV's Awkward, and more recently Elena of Avalar on Disney Channel. She is philanthropic and loves blogging. We are very excited to have you here, Jillian. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
So Jillian, what do you think connects us as human beings?
That's such a big question right off the bat, Kyle. Trauma. I would say trauma, probably. My gut, I know you want to hear me say love, but really I think that what connects us all is understanding that the struggles that we've all been through and connecting on a deeper level and being able to see people for not just what's on the surface, but what's really going on underneath.
Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really easy to walk around and put a smile on your face and act like everything's fine, but obviously every single person on planet Earth has struggled, and I think that the second that we allow ourselves to open up about those struggles and talk about those struggles with another human and be able to relate to that person is the second that you kind of dive into a deeper friendship or a deeper meaning of life. I just think that being able to talk about the things in your life that aren't necessarily peachy keen are what makes you relatable.
You have a section about mental health on your website. Mm-hmm. How has mental health played a role in your life?
It's played the biggest role in my life, actually. So in 2018, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. And before that diagnosis and after that diagnosis, after learning about that diagnosis, I went through a lot. I started in the entertainment industry when I was really, really young. I was 7. So I think that a form of anxiety was probably just always there because I was always competing or, I guess I could say working to better myself, but really it's like this level of perfectionism that I created for myself at a really young age. And so I went through the majority of my teenage years and a lot of, my adult life so far, not really understanding where my anxieties were coming from or what they really were. And then after I got diagnosed in 2018, it was a lot clearer that I hadn't been focusing on my mental health in the way that I needed to. I had that surface level, oh, I'm stressed, I should take a walk or whatever, but I never really understood that it could be something that needed to be treated or paid attention to, or that it was going to affect my life in such a big way. Because for a lot of my life, I did just say I was fine. And so getting that diagnosis, I think, allowed me to not be fine for the first time in my life, which was astronomical.
So is your mental health circumstantial or is it chemical?
I don't know yet. I am in the process actually of still learning about it and learning about my triggers and really like what makes me tick. I was on a medication when I first got diagnosed with anxiety, but it was short term, just to see how my body would react to it, see what happened. I didn't really see much of a change. But since then, now that it's been 2 years, I have learned way more about what my anxiety really is. And so I'm actually, you're catching me at a time where I am actually in the process of deciding if I need to explore the fact that it could be chemical and that I could need medication, or if it's something that I can just kind of, deal with day to day with things like exercise and medication and CBD and all the other things that I do to kind of like deal with it. So unknown.
Can you pinpoint onsets of anxiety, or do they come about sporadically?
No, I can pinpoint. The entertainment industry as a whole is a big source. Probably the main source. But really for me, just diving right in, is I have a pretty intense need for control and a pretty intense need for a schedule I guess I would say. I need to know what's going to happen in my life. And the entertainment industry is probably the worst thing I could have ever gotten into for that. So that I would say is my biggest trigger. And then, stress that is induced from that, like, money, being an actor for so many years, I always had this feeling of like, where is my next paycheck going to come from, and is it going to come at all? And so I think that is kind of where it all started for me. So now I can pretty much see, okay, that's a situation that's going to stress me out. That audition coming up, that's going to stress me out. And kind of I'm really just now figuring out how to like stop the anxiety before it happens. I haven't been able to do that for my entire life, certainly not in the past 2 years. So it's always in development, I guess. I'm always learning more and exploring, what it all means for me and how I can control it day to day.
What is happiness for you?
Happiness for me is a sense of security. It's knowing that I have a place to rest my head every night. It's knowing that I have the people around me that support me and love me. It's getting rid of the people who don't serve me. And honestly, creating a safe little bubble, for lack of better words, around me. And I don't mean that in a way of like, shunning away anything that's outside of that bubble. But really, for me, happiness is all of those things that make me feel safe and secure.
Are you happy?
I think I am. I think I can say probably in the last year that I'm happy. I don't think I could say that previous to the last year.
And you attribute that to feeling a sense of control in your life?
I attribute that to getting out of the entertainment industry.
Interesting. Interesting.
Sorry, everyone.
What are you apologizing for?
They're all in it.
So I was unaware that you were out of entertainment.
I'm loosely out of it. I don't, I guess I don't do the hustle anymore. The hustle was never for me. The schmoozing was never for me. All the things you're good at, Kyle, I wasn't good at. Talking to people, smiling, meeting new people, I hated it. I hated every part of it, which I can go into more detail if you want. But I think that, I think for me, it was, I can't be in the day-to-day when I don't know what's coming next. I had my series. It carried me for 6 years of my life, and then it was over. And then I was back to being an unemployed actor, and that wasn't working for me. So when I say I'm not in the entertainment industry, I am fully in it, but I'm in it behind the camera, and it's a way different feeling. It's a different joy. It's a different love, and it doesn't put the pressure on me to have to, I don't know, fill a hole in somebody else's marketing. I don't want to be a product anymore.
What do you mean by behind the camera?
I am a full-time acting teacher.
And where do you teach?
So I have a roster of about 200 private students that I see for either private lessons weekly or monthly, or that I'm coaching for specific auditions. I also teach 9 acting classes a week at Cynthia Bain's Young Actor Studio, which is one of the most prominent youth acting studios in Los Angeles.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Thanks.
So you're a woman of many hats, beauty and fashion, acting, dance, charity, philanthropy, blogging, et cetera, the list goes on.
Yep.
What do you want to be known for most?
I want to be known for positively impacting my young students. I want to be known for helping them discover who they are as a person and as an actor and as a performer. And I want to be known for not just being their teacher, but their mentor.
Beautiful.
I want the thank you at the Oscars. That's what I want. Is that too much to ask?
No, I don't think so. I think that we all need to be a little selfish.
Right? Yeah.
So when you win an Emmy or an Oscar, or you already have won an Emmy.
Kind of.
Correct?
Yeah, our show has, Elena of Avalor's won a couple Emmys, yeah.
Okay, and when does that come out?
So Elena of Avalor has actually been out. It's been out for I think we just wrapped our 4th and final season. So we literally just finished airing like a couple weeks ago. But it was a really cool show because it was actually Disney Channel's first Latina princess, and I play her best friend. So it was like a really groundbreaking program to be a part of. And yeah, we won a couple of Emmys in our last season, and we had won some previously, but just to kind of win them again in our last season was extra special.
What does winning an Emmy mean to you?
I mean, I didn't win it for acting, obviously, so that would be very different, but just being a part of a show that won an Emmy that was so groundbreaking for the Disney Channel, it really just feels like I'm a part of a show that's allowing a lot more voices to be heard, and I think that that's really special.
What is your purpose on this earth?
I don't know. Do you know yours? Have you figured it out? What's the secret to figuring it out? I don't know what my purpose on this earth is. Maybe to make people smile and make people laugh. You know, I've been drawn to comedy since I was very, very young. Watching Friends is actually what got me into acting in general, outside of the realm of musical theater. And I was always drawn to it because I used to say, if I can just make people forget about their problems for 30 minutes on a Tuesday night, then I've done my job. So maybe it's that, to make people laugh.
You are very professional.
Thank
You're
you.
very kind. You're very bubbly. What experiences have you gone through in your life to create your current worldview or the actions that you take regularly?
Well, in terms of being a bubbly and energetic person, I think that just comes from growing up on the stage. I started dancing when I was 2. I started theater when I was 7. I started TV and radio and commercial at 12. And I was on a series by 18. So I've pretty much just, all I've ever known is being happy and positive and energetic, which I'm sure has a lot to do with all of my problems. But you know what I mean? It's just, I've always been somebody who wants to make other people smile. And I think that that has created a pretty optimistic viewpoint in general. I would consider myself a very optimistic person. Even though I deal with anxieties and stress and stuff, I still have what I think is a pretty good outlook on life. And I'm pretty, most of the time, pretty positive in my own mindset and the people around me and building them up. So I think overall, just my love for making other people smile has helped me smile and be more optimistic in my viewpoint even now into adulthood.
Do either of your parents struggle with mental health issues?
My mom has anxiety for sure. It's different than mine. Hers is more like day-to-day stress and kind of just overall being overworked and wound up. Mine manifests itself in very different ways, but I know I get it from her. It's her fault for sure. She knows it though, it's okay.
Blame it on mom.
Yeah, it's mom's fault.
You have contributed to a lot of different charities. What compels that?
So it started when I was really young. The first time I had the opportunity to give back and a platform and a voice that people were actually listening to, I wanted to make sure I used that. So at a very young age, I got involved with the American Diabetes Association because my older brother lives with type 1 diabetes. So I wanted to be involved in their auctions and their walks and their social campaigns and anything that I could for my brother. And then the second big, I guess, social push that I really did was getting involved with an organization called Do Something. It's dosomething.org. And their whole mission is getting young people involved in causes that they care about. And I thought that was really cool because I had been hearing at that time from a lot of my young followers, and also something that I went through as a teenager. I want to get involved, but I don't know how. Or I want to get involved, but I don't know where or what I'm passionate about yet. So Do Something helps people figure that out, and they have their hand in so many different causes. So I got really involved with them, worked with them a lot, which was amazing, and I still fully support them and think that they're so awesome. And nowadays, I'm actually a board member and celebrity spokesperson for the Breaking the Chains Foundation, which is a global nonprofit that works to change the conversation around eating disorders by using art as a form of therapy and healing.
Where did that come from?
So one of my good family friends, Deborah Hopkins, who is the founder of Breaking the Chains, has been working on this project for, I mean, it must be 15 years. I've known her, it seems like forever. And so I got involved with her in the very early stages, just as kind of being like a positive light for other young women. I had never struggled with an eating disorder per se, but obviously understood the pressures to hold up some sort of ideal body type just from being in the entertainment industry. So she thought that that would be a really, I'd be a positive person on the team. And now that we're so much farther down the line, and we've done so many things together, I have been able to, through this organization, write blogs and articles about mental health and dive way deeper into ideal body type and self-love and what social media does to our image of self-love and perfectionism. And I actually just developed an entire online program. It's a seminar that we're using in eating disorder recovery centers, and it's all about how social media impacts our idea of perfectionism and how we can work to change that.
Very cool.
Thanks.
So cool. I love it.
Something I'm really proud of.
You mentioned traumas.
Mm-hmm.
What traumas did you deal with growing up?
I mean, starting in the entertainment industry at such a young age, I think that's trauma in itself. I mean, I have a million other things. My parents are divorced. I have a wonderful stepdad, but dealing, with remarriage and my brother's diagnosis with diabetes and all of that stuff kind of compiled on the fact that I've been trying to be an actor since I was 7 and being in a position of like rejection pretty much all of my life. I would say that is my biggest trauma. Aside from all the other little random things that I have to say, my parents did a fantastic job of handling, divorce and all of that kind of stuff, really didn't faze me as much as I think being told no all the time from 7 years old.
So you felt loved as a kid?
100%. Oh yeah. I have a big family, not huge, but I have my mom, my dad, my stepdad, which by the way, my mom and my dad up until the day he died were close with my stepmom, like two brothers, one older, one younger, grandparents who lived with me my entire life. Like I have a pretty, the typical kind of like perfect idea of a family is absolutely what I got. So I can't really blame them. Other than the stress, I can't really blame them for anything.
And your stepdad stepped in and really became a father to you.
He's amazing. Yeah, he started dating my mom. I must have been maybe somewhere around 6, and they got married when I was 8. Some of my first memories of my stepdad are him at my first communion. So I think I was probably around 8 that they got married, and I actually remember the day that he told me I could call him Dad. We were at a baseball game in Detroit, and we were on a Ferris wheel at Tiger Stadium. And he was like, I'm going to be marrying your mom. Like, you can call me Dad. And I've called him Dad since that day, and he is totally my dad.
What would you do if you didn't have your stepdad?
I would have never moved to LA. I'd still be in Michigan doing something that probably made me miserable. My biological father didn't have those means to be able to do that for me. My stepdad did, which is like another huge crazy thing. Imagine getting married to a woman who has some children, and then not long after that marriage being like, hey, so we all want to move to LA. It's crazy, right? But that's how much he fit into our family and how much he loved and cares for all of us. And he said yes, and we did it. And really, it's because of him that I'm here, that my whole family's here.
If you died
Okay.
If you died tomorrow, how would you want to be remembered?
For my role on Awkward.
Really?
Yeah. I know that it touched a lot of people's lives, not just my role, but Awkward in general was a really big deal at the time. It was one of the first really, I think, like groundbreaking teenage shows since something like Freaks and Geeks, which was obviously so long ago. So I know because of the conversations that I've had with people that awkward was used in therapy sessions. It was used in schools. It was really widely accepted, and we touched on so many really important issues. And if anything, I know that it's changed lives. And so if I'm gonna go out, I at least want to be remembered for that performance and knowing that it changed people's lives.
I watched a few episodes. I memorized some lines.
Oh no. You probably know them more than me at this point.
I memorized a couple lines. I memorized, what was it? Does anyone want to make out with me? Anyone? I'm riding solo here.
When I'm in the hot tub.
When you're in the hot tub.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the other one where I was just like, oh my gosh, was, oh man, I'm not going to remember it exactly, but it's Tamara, pronounced Tamara. But
like when your birth control fails, you plan B it Tamara.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how I want to be remembered, people.
Oh, so good. So good. I'm really enjoying our conversation, by the way.
Me too. Thank you.
It's so nice to meet you and get to know you.
I know, you too.
You're a lovely person.
Thank you.
Really.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
You have an energy that I think really inspires and empowers people.
Thanks. That means a lot.
Yeah. So do you want children?
I do.
And what would you think about your children getting into the film industry?
I would absolutely advise against it.
Okay. What if they felt passionate about it?
Then they'd have to study for a long time. They would probably have to prove to me that they want it with every ounce of their being, with every bone in their body before I would put them into it. It's just too heartbreaking. It's really hard. And I've seen the negative effects it has on children. It's my job to teach children, so I know what it does. And I think until you are mentally developed enough to make that decision on your own, I wouldn't do it. So I would never put my kids in before they're able to tell me they want to. Sorry if any of you moms out there have babies you're putting in commercials, but I wouldn't say to do it. If they were older and they were studied and they felt passionate about it, I think I would allow it, but I don't think I would ever allow it to be their main focus. I think that they would have to do something else on the side and let acting be a passion until it became a job, but I would never go into it with the hope or desire that it would become my child's job.
So if you believe that the film industry or entertainment has a negative effect on people, especially kids, why are you currently an acting teacher for kids in entertainment?
Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of kids who really want it. There's a lot of kids who don't. I teach a lot of kids whose parents want it, and that's a very delicate situation I have to deal with often. But I have a lot of kids who genuinely are passionate about it and genuinely want to do it. And that is why I take my role as an acting teacher very seriously. I'm not just playing improv games with them and sending them into an audition. I'm teaching them scene study. I'm teaching them the things I would teach to someone your age. And I'm teaching it in the same way. So I'm setting them up to have a career and not fame. And if a student comes to me and says they want to be famous, I probably won't teach them. I'm not in the fame game.
Do you derive your happiness from within yourself internally, or would you say that the majority of your happiness is based on external things in the physical world?
A little bit of both. I think I get a lot of my happiness from my work. Because I am actively changing people all the time for the better. It's my job in 1 hour to make somebody better than they were when they started, right? So I get a lot of joy out of seeing that progress and seeing other people's growth, and knowing that I had a part in that makes me feel like I guess it makes me feel like I do have a purpose, right? And that all of the things I've worked so hard for now matter and they make sense, because they didn't really make sense for me. You know, removing myself from being on camera is what I'm talking about. That world didn't make sense for me, but helping other people to find that really makes me happy. But in the same breath, I can tell you that I have worked really hard and come a long way on my own self-love journey. And to say that I am genuinely happy with who I am is a true statement. You know, I may have days where I look in the mirror and don't like the way my butt looks, but that's normal, right? Genuinely, deep down inside, I like who I am and I'm proud of where I've gotten. So I would say that my happiness comes from both the ability to look inward and love myself, but also the ability to help and inspire other people.
So are you spiritual or meditational?
I'm an atheist. I have just started dipping into meditation. I actually did my first sound bath a couple weeks ago, which was incredible. But as far as spirituality, no.
Okay.
You can ask
Awesome.
me more. I don't care. I'll tell you.
Can you tell me more?
I believe in science. So if you can't prove something to me, I don't believe it.
I believe that same thing.
Cool.
I am metaphysical.
Okay.
I would consider myself spiritual.
In what way?
I believe in the law of attraction.
Okay.
So I believe that our thoughts create our reality. But just like you said, it's on a scientific level. Mm-hmm. It's based off of quantum physics.
Yeah, I can vibe with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not just some magical thing.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like you imagine a unicorn
Sure.
and one just
Pops
appears
up.
in front of you.
But I believe in that too, the power of positive thought. But I don't believe that if I like charge my crystal in the sun that it's gonna bring me those positive thoughts. I believe I have to do that work myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would say that your heaven is here on this earth.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Let's say you, this is a hard question to ask, lost the love of your life. How would you deal with that?
Well, I've dealt with a lot of loss in my life. So from a very basic standpoint, I would cry a lot. I would cry in the bathtub a lot. That's what I do. I cry in the bath. What would I do? I would... You're either going to love me for this answer or you're going to never want to talk to me again. You're definitely not going to want to come to my wedding. But I would be devastated. I would lose a big part of myself. But I would continue on and I would be okay. Because I have always had the mindset that my relationship is a part of my life and not my entire life. So as much as my fiance is my everything and I love him and I want him near me all the time, I'm also really good at doing things on my own. So I'd be sad, but I would prevail.
You and your fiance are independently happy, but coexisting together
100%.
and creating more happiness.
Yeah.
But you're not codependent on one another. Is that correct?
We're not codependent in the least bit. We are extremely independent. Me probably even more so than him. Extremely independent. We have, our own thoughts. We disagree on things all the time. We have our own careers. A lot of times I don't see him until 7 p.m. because of work, and then we come together and it just meshes and it's the safe space and it's the happy place, right? But outside of it, we are two individual people who are not really looking to change each other. We're just looking to love and accept each other.
What makes you cry?
Everything. I've been holding back tears this entire time. Everything makes me cry. I'm very emotional. I haven't always been, but I am now.
And is that because...
It's because I lost my grandma. Losing
Okay.
my grandma changed my life in a lot of different ways, both positive and negative. Negative meaning like just carrying more anxiety and stress. I lost her during the year that I was diagnosed. But positive, and I'm way more in touch with my emotions now, and I'm way more I'm less critical of them. I'm more accepting of them. And it helps me in my work. It helps me in my day-to-day. My fiance may say I'm over-emotional, but I think you need to cry a little bit every day. It's good for your skin, you know?
So the last question is, what does it mean to be human?
I think to be human means to be multi-layered, always evolving, flawed, vulnerable, little alien things that somehow made it this long on this planet and hopefully will continue to make it. But I'm not sure anymore. But I think being a human is being... the thought that keeps popping into my head is just like ever-changing. I think that people get stuck in trying to be a certain thing without realizing that you don't have to be. And that was a big thing for me in my life of, I know I keep going back to acting, but I was an actor. My whole life I was an actor. So to decide that I didn't have to be anymore was a profound moment in my life. And it really helped me realize that being human means being okay with change, especially if it means long-term happiness for you.
Beautiful, Jillian.
Thanks. I'm like, is that the right answer? Does everybody agree? Yeah. Is anybody judging me for that answer?
Is there any final thoughts that you have, or can you tell us about any upcoming projects?
Yeah.
Anything that's relevant to your life?
Like you said earlier, I blog, so you can always find me at jillianrosereed.net, where I blog about many different things, obviously on Instagram as well, at Jillian Rose Reed. And as far as future projects, Disney is playing Elena of Avalor like crazy, so if you want to see me play a cute little blonde girl who sings a lot of songs, you can check me out there. Otherwise, yeah, follow me on socials for anything new.
Jillian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We've created Talking to Earthlings to have raw and honest conversation with one another in an effort to unite human beings who may not agree ideologically, but who can be inspired by one another's vulnerabilities. By watching our show, you are helping us accomplish our goal of changing the world, one conversation at a time. Be sure to follow us on socials to stay updated. Thanks.